a son in Ashburn Elementary School. He's quite young, only in the first grade, but we're already teaching him programming. What I do is I'm a white hat hacker, is what I call it. I'm a penetration tester. I'm hired by a U.S. government, and we're hired to look into security vulnerabilities so the good guys can find them out before the bad guys do. And one of the things I do for the company for which I work in Columbia, Maryland, is we have a program, a STEM education initiative. And what we do is we take high school students and college students, we bring them into our laboratories, and we teach them about what we do, how we do it, and we let them actually access the work that we're working on. We teach them these skills because the U.S. government right now is calling for more people in information security and information technology backgrounds. In fact, just last week, Panetta had claimed that the next war is not going to be fought with ground troops and such. It's going to be fought, in the cyber ground, cyber warfare. We need more people in the U.S. for these jobs, and I can tell you from a personal perspective, there are a lot of jobs that are going unfilled right now in the U.S. government and contractors. There aren't enough people to fill these positions in the U.S., so they're outsourcing them to other countries. So I would rather have a lot of this training here in the U.S. And I can tell you from my background, I'm a college professor at the University of Southern Maine. Indeed, I live here, I fly up to Maine and teach and fly back. And I also teach at a military academy. I'll be starting that next year. I'll be teaching information security, and I'm teaching students to think in these ways that will help the U.S. government with their efforts, both for military defense and what they work on. And I've been a professor for 8 years, and I believe that this program would be fantastic for Loudoun County. In the program, we had 2 students from Loudoun County that I personally went out and recruited to join my company when we did our STEM education 7-day camp we did in Columbia, Maryland. The students did fantastically. In fact, they did a lot more than we even thought they could, but one thing they said is they wish they had more classes like this in Loudoun County. And those students are going to be offered positions like summer positions at my company and many others. They're being recruited by the U.S. government. They're good at what they do, but they want more classes like this. I would like to be able to hire more students who have this type of background. I know they're out there and they have the interest. And I can tell you from personal experience in the classes I teach, we use a sandbox environment. What that means is we teach people about stuff in ways that it can't get out to the internet, but it acts as if it is. So we can teach them cyber warfare type of techniques in a secure environment. And the students do great. And these high school students are doing this, they're interested, and I'd rather them do it in a program with professors. And I'm also an attorney in addition to a computer scientist, and we teach them about how far they can go and what they can do. It's possible to do it. I've been doing it for 8 years, and I'd love to see it here on the high school level. Thank you.
My name is Jeannie Kirby, and I'm a lifelong learner. I have a Virginia license to teach, and I'm a software engineer. My 3 children attend Loudoun County School, and they are in 6th, 5th, and 3rd grade. As a mother, I am concerned about the education that they receive, being able to provide the skill set necessary for success in the 21st century. Currently, I use the summer break to compile 3 different curriculums and have my children work on their math skills during the summer. I think the Loudoun Math and IT Academy provides a great opportunity to provide to Loudoun County residents a choice in education. Since the school will be academically modeled after an existing school that has proven academic high student scores, there's a high probability that it will be a school of excellence. I feel very passionate about the strong STEM and the other unique curriculum choices which provide the opportunity for students to compete in the ever-changing and very competitive information age that is their future. Loudoun Math and IT Academy is a forward-thinking, progressive concept that will give the Loudoun County residents the ability to have their children compete in the 21st century, which will allow the students not only to survive in the future, but to thrive in the future.
Thank you, Sylvia Ross. Thank you for being able to address the committee. There are 2 issues I'm really concerned with. The first thing I'd like to make a comment that this is not a dispute about the importance of stem cell education. That's a given. But it is a lot different when you're talking about who is to teach it and what are the connections. And saying it's going to be a good program doesn't necessarily make it so. I'll leave it to the education folks to dig down into the substantive aspect of the STEM education to see whether it's actually going to bear itself out. But one important thing in determining cybersecurity is to know basic essential warfare doctrine, which is who is the enemy, what is his doctrine and what is his objective. You have to be able to identify that. But I just brought that up to comment on some of the earlier comments. My main inquiry tonight is that I don't want this debate to turn into what I often see on what is a very sensitive political issue. Two cards are usually thrown down: Islamophobia or racism, to shut down any civil discourse. You are a governing body, you're a subcommittee of a governing body. It is your, as I spoke to the general board, a constitutional duty to look into these things. But by saying or turning the debate into anyone who's in objection to the school is a racist or an Islamophobe is incorrect. It's not relevant. If the facts bear out that there are certain patterns to an organization and religious affiliation and ethnicity bear into the structure, those are objective facts that need to be considered. For example, the mafia in New York were Sicilian, Italian Catholics. If I were to object to the mafia as an organization, would I then be labeled Catholic phobic, a Sicilian Italian phobe? And remember, a phobia is an irrational fear based on nothing substantial or objective. So please keep that in mind. And I don't mean to insult your intelligence or say that you are, but this kind of debate in the papers and amongst the body public gets thrown off track. Essentially, that's really it. I'd like you to just bear that in mind. Look at the facts, whatever emerges. If it happens to be related to a particular ethnic group or religious-based, those things are pertinent if they bear up in the data. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Wonderful board members, our superintendent, Assistant Superintendent Ned Waterhouse, and our wonderful attorney, and everyone that's here today has taken their time for this valuable presentation. I am a member of the community here in Loudoun County. I live in Brambleton. I own my own real estate brokerage firm, and I represent parents and grandparents that live in the county. I also represent taxpayers. My biggest concern is just to express to everyone very respectfully that I oppose this application, not because I oppose charter schools in general. To the contrary, I ran for office in 2000 for school board in Columbia, South Carolina, and I am a proponent of charter schools. If the charter school brings to the local municipality something that is missing there, if the charter school or the private school or any other means of alternate education is bringing something that we're missing, this specific charter application is flawed. It's been proven in Anne Arundel County by the extensive report that was submitted by Anne Arundel County Public Administration that it is extensively flawed. It also has shown that it's missing basic elements of any specific charter school as it was presented in front of this wonderful school board, as it was presented in front of the school administration. My problem here is that I would like for the members of the school board to sit back, relax, and consider that this is about the children of Loudoun County, and it's about the taxpayers of Loudoun County, and that each member of this school board was elected to look out for the well-being of these individuals. This is a nonpartisan position. There's no political agendas. We shouldn't have any pressure from higher-ups, and we should do it for the well-being of the children and the grandchildren. And again, thank you all. God bless you for the great job that you're doing.
I'm Rachel Sargent, and I am a homeschooling mom and a former public school teacher. I taught Spanish for many years. And so some of you will be hearing this for the second or third time, but I'm opposed to the charter school, the Loudoun IT Academy, not because of its STEM program, which sounds fabulous, but all because of the connections or the track record of failure that has been noted by Anne Arundel County Schools, specifically Miss Kathy Lane, who we've discussed at length the different failures that have happened in their 7-year tenure in Anne Arundel County. I'll just read you a quick portion here. The pattern of chronic violations of students' rights as they relate to the provision of special education and related service delivery persistently ineffective financial controls and business practices in adherence with generally acceptable accounting principles, resulting in chronic concerns to positive cash flow. And that has been a common problem throughout the 7 years that Chesapeake Science Point, the school that the limited application is modeling itself after, has been a part of. This here is fact. And this is what we presented to you many times at the meetings before. And I'm not sure if anyone has had a chance to read this, but I encourage you to read the Chesapeake Science Charter Renewal Cumulative Performance Report. It is very important that we have a background on this. And also, I encourage you all, as school board members that are here, to call Kathy Lane if you've not done so already. Be more than happy to give her information and her contact information. And again, just to let you know that also I attended the Bronx High School of Science in New York City long ago, and so I am definitely a proponent of the STEM program, but not at this cost. It has shown in 135 schools around the country that they've had problems ranging from financial, academic, and just systemic problems all over the country. And we have plenty of resources with newspapers and reports that are factual that can be presented to you. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Frank Gaffney. We've met before. I run an organization called the Center for Security Policy in Washington, D.C., and I'm a resident of Loudoun County. I've been involved at the national and international level for about 25 years on matters involving an understanding of totalitarian ideology, that its adherents call Sharia, and particularly involved in trying to find and counter efforts to insinuate it into our country. One of the ways we have discovered this is being done systematically and aggressively across the United States is through penetration and subversion of our educational system in the form of curricula, textbooks, university-level programs, courses, chairs, centers, and through charter schools. Indeed, there are roughly 135 charter schools that are affiliated with, as you all know, an individual by the name of Fethullah Gulen, that bear many of the hallmarks of this sort of stealthy form of jihad. We've joined forces with other concerned citizens in this community to examine this proposed charter against the backdrop of these sorts of experiences and insights. And as I told the school board last week, we are responding to your request, Mr. Chairman, to provide factual information in the complex nature of these relationships with the Gulen movement that this particular charter school applicant has, and I believe with the baggage associated therewith. And despite the non-transparency on these points in their application, we think that this is something that needs to be shared with you in a fulsome way. To that end, we've prepared what, or in the process of finalizing now, I should say, a 20-minute presentation that will walk you through these associations, the larger purpose that I believe this school is intended to serve, which is not advancing our math and science, but advancing this agenda of the Gulen movement. We expect to have this finalized and ready for presentation by the time of your last public meeting. I would ask you, as I did to the full board last week, to have an opportunity to present that to you, not simply to throw it over the transom and ask you to take a look at it, which seems to me to be both entirely reasonable and necessary in light of what I understand is about 2 years that the applicant has had to work with the various educational apparatuses here in Loudoun County to prepare this application. We think you have a right to know. We think the public has a right to know that you know. And we very respectfully request that you make yourselves available for such a presentation before we finish your deliberations. Thank you very much.
I am a parent here in Loudoun County, and I have 2 girls. I have one daughter who graduated this past year, and I have another daughter who is a sophomore in our school system. And we, how many of you own houses? You all own houses. You guys remember buying your first house? When we were newlyweds, we had started a family. We lived in Woodbridge, and we looked at Fairfax and Loudoun County to purchase a home. When we first started, and when Dirk said that we could start looking for a house, I was absolutely ecstatic. And we went house hunting and went from house to house, and I go, oh, surely this is it. And Dirk would have his check mark, very practical. And he would say, no, this isn't it, and I'm starting to get frustrated. I'm going, but it's like right there, you could taste it. It was so right there. And lo and behold, we found the perfect house in Leesburg, and we have been there ever since, and we've loved it. It's been an awesome house for us. But if we had got the first house or the second house, in fact, we put a bid on a third house, and then we were madly praying that they wouldn't accept the offer. And I begged to move to Leesburg. And so we have been in our house 17 years, and we absolutely love it. My point is, I feel that we are in that place where I was 17 years ago. We're so excited. We've been selected to have a charter school. We want a charter school. We can taste it. We want it so bad. And Loudoun County has one of the best school systems. We're touted for our technology. We have awesome technology in the schools. We have other school systems visiting us because of our technology. And so what I am encouraging is don't sell out for the first thing that comes along. Research it. Check it out. The facts are there. You've been given probably a plethora of information, more than even I have. So I would just encourage you, research it. I do not believe this is the charter school for us, though I am in favor of STEM, the STEM technology and all of that. Research it. Please research it. All right. Don't sell out on the first choice. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much for having us to talk to you guys tonight. My background, I've been a clergyman for 22 years. I've lived in Northern Virginia all of my life. In the last 7 years, I've poured myself into the study of Islamic ideology. I've worked very closely with a gentleman named Dr. Walid Fares, one of the world's foremost experts on counterterrorism and jihad, also the advisor to the Congressional Caucus on Counterterrorism, and most recently he was Mitt Romney's selection as National Security Advisor on the Middle East and North Africa. So I've had some very wise people around me. Recently, I founded an organization in Virginia called the Black Robe Regiment of Virginia. I am the founder and executive director of that. Black Robe Regiment of Virginia is an association of Virginia clergy and laymen who embrace the faith, patriotism, and fighting spirit of clergy of the founding era. The preachers who inspired, recruited for, fought, led, and died in the American Revolution, who in fact figured so prominently in the colony's drive for independence that British troops endowed their continental foes with the designation Black Robe Regiment. We stand with other patriotic ministers in Virginia and America, the vanguard of a growing national clergy-led movement to restore America's godly heritage and constitutional government of, by, for the American people. Everyone else has been talking about the pros and cons of the proposed charter school and its affiliation with Turkish Islamist Fethullah Gulen. As a clergyman, I will speak as a clergyman for the next 2 minutes or so. I want to talk to you about millstones. Matthew 18 says, when Jesus was asked by his disciples, who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven, Jesus set a child before them and said, you must be converted and become like children, or you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. Whoever causes one of these little ones to believe in me to stumble, it would be better for him that a heavy millstone were hung around his neck and he drowned in the depth of the sea. As those responsible for ensuring that our children receive a good education, you are responsible for the content of their curriculum. If for any reason you expose them to content that might cause them to stumble, Almighty God will hold you accountable for it. regardless of your religious affiliation, and even if you are an atheist. Ignorance will be no sanctuary at your final exam, and there is no make-up test. If you are in doubt as to the content of this curriculum or the intentions of its proponents who seek access to our children's minds, you have a duty to reject it. It is wholly unacceptable to approve a curriculum because you feel you lack sufficient evidence to reject it. You must disapprove any curriculum for which you retain the slightest doubt as to its effect on our kids. If you determine that it is in your best interest professionally to put our children at risk in this matter, rest assured that it will be your neck around which the heavy millstone of eternal retribution will inevitably be hung. And at that point, a successful career in education will be of little consequence.
Thank you. Tom Marshall, to be followed by Tom.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Tom Marshall. I have a son who's a junior at Tuscarora High School. My daughter went through 12 years of Loudoun County High School unscathed. I'm a former school board member, and I have to admit it's hard to give it up. So that's why I'm here in part. But I come to this from a different perspective, and that is simply this. I would say that in Loudoun County, we already have what it amounts to a charter school in essence. We have sending 208 students to Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology, which requires us to pay about $13,000 per student to the Fairfax County Public Schools. You can call it a regional public school, but it operates much as the same from a fiscal and impact as would a charter school. Additionally, the school system must also provide transportation costs more than an additional $250,000, adding up to about $3 million we're putting out to Thomas Jefferson for our 208 students. A program that's well recognized that either Thomas Jefferson is either #1 or #2 school in the United States. There's a good program. Now I want to bring up another point. The Board of Supervisors proposed or have done several things that illustrate that they do not trust the school board to bring forth school budget based on legitimate needs as opposed to wants. Regardless of the fact the school board has taken the initiative to make serious cuts in funding from the superintendent's proposed budget in the past. The Board of Supervisors apparently think you cannot distinguish between wants and needs, as evidenced by Chairman Scott York's comment, and I quote, "Just because we need to build school seats, they don't need to be made of gold." Had the Board of Supervisors simply equalized the tax rate, resulting in a little additional pain for the taxpayer, the school board would certainly bear the brunt given the continual need to accommodate more and more students. But then to suggest that while the county side would have to make some adjustments, the school would have to take on an additional 3-cent cut, which would gut many of our programs and offerings. This would in essence be a gift to the potential voters in 3 years by providing a 2.8% reduction of the average tax bill while the school system continues to grow by 2,000 to 2,500 new students each year. That proposal makes only ideological anti-tax sense, not practical sense. That is a punitive measure by the supervisors to the school board for their perceived inability of not being capable of differentiating between wants and needs. I feel your pain. I've been there. Oddly enough, many of the same supervisors want you to consider charter schools, which are clearly a want of a group of self-subscribed educational reformers obliged to no one other than themselves with a self-serving agenda. Not only are charter schools a want of the few and not in need of the many, it is a serious gamble and risk that would take much needed funding from the operating budget of a highly respected and I would say result-proven school system. To give into a clamor for this problem-laden charter application, which apparently has some real issues attached to it, would result in an additional shortfall in the budget for our students and teachers to deal with.
Thank you, Mr. Marshall. Thank you.